Welcome back for today's Focus on Health segment. It is summertime, and we all know that we can't beat this heat. So what increases your risk of having a heat stroke? Dr. Quinn joins us with all the answers. Dr. Quinn, thank you so much for joining us. What are some medications and medical conditions that cause a person to have an increased risk of having a heat stroke?
Well, Jay, there are a lot of medications out there that we want to be aware of that can cause an increased risk of someone having a heat stroke. And it's really a good idea to talk with your provider about your specific medications. But just a general overview, there are a lot of medications out there, some that can decrease sweating. And these could include medicines for Parkinson's disease, if you have that, some antipsychotic medications. Some medications can give you a higher chance of being dehydrated, such as some of your diuretics or other blood pressure medications. Some can raise your body's temperature, to include medicines such as anti-seizure, bipolar disorder. All of these are different medications that you want to talk to your medical provider about, especially coming into these very hot summer months.
And Dr. Quinn, you mentioned that you received a call from the emergency room last week. What happened to your patient?
Well, basically, I got a call, and it was from a emergency room doctor, and he was told by the daughter of the patient that I was the primary care physician, and they didn't take any of their medicines with them to the emergency room. Allegedly, the patient was outdoors doing some gardening. She was about 72 years old, and she just got really weak and confused, and she fainted. And what was noted was the skin was very dry and warm. It's hard to touch, no sweating. And basically what was going on was she was diagnosed with a heat stroke. And when you have a heat stroke, in a lot of cases, your temperature can go to 103 degrees. Your central nervous system, as far as your cooling mechanisms that cause you to sweat, can just shut down. And that's why that skin is so dry and hot. But the good news was the ambulance came, they took her to the emergency room, and I was able to give the emergency room doctor a list of all the medications she was taking. And that way we had a lot of information on which direction to go as far as her treatment.
Wow. And what should everyone do to prevent heat strokes?
You know, it's so funny you asked that question, because I get beat up by my wife all the time because I want to go outdoors and exercise, and sometimes I don't follow my own advice. But the advice is, if you have to be outdoors, go out as much as you can during the cooler parts of the day, early in the morning or later after 6 p.m. if possible, unless you work outdoors and don't have a choice. But if you're out there extended periods of time, take water breaks if it's really hot, every 30 minutes if you can. And if you start feeling any symptoms like overwhelming heat, shortness of breath, there's a lot of sweating, get into the cool. And if you don't get better within a very short time, don't hesitate to seek medical care, especially if you are just getting confused and dazed, because you could be suffering from heat exhaustion, which could lead to a heat stroke.
And we should all be taking this seriously in these summer months especially. Thank you, Dr. Quinn.